chills. Number 5. Angry at ambulances. You can find a lot of videos scattered around the internet of people ranting while stuck in traffic, but not many of them have ever caused an entire state to go in a widespread panic. That's exactly what happened in January of this year when a man in Stoughton, Massachusetts found himself late to work and decided to start recording a long rant about it on his cell phone. Well, he probably wasn't the only person unhappy about being late that morning. The paranoid footage that came as a result was far beyond insane. The man, who is only known by a Twitter account screen name of Caesar, begins the video by instructing the viewer to quote-unquote, "Look who gets in front of me." The camera is pointing at an inconspicuous county ambulance as it drives ahead of him at a normal rate of speed. Even though there is nothing out of the ordinary about this ambulance, Caesar cannot hold back his rage in his voice as he goes on to explain how the police are systematically using emergency vehicles to harass him due to the color of his skin. In Caesar's mind, the ambulance workers are nothing more than racists who are working alongside the police in an effort to make him late to work out of spite. Caesar ends the video with a solemn promise to one day take a gun and quote-unquote, "kill one of these expletives, ya feel me?" He stops recording, but what he did next while off tape was even crazier. Caesar was so convinced of this massive conspiracy against him that he drove up to the ambulance and began screaming at them. According to one of the emergency medical technicians that was inside, Caesar was warning them to stop messing with him, and he also said he was going to shoot them. The ambulance drove away. No one was harmed, but they were understandably distraught. Later, police investigators did some sleuthing and found Caesar's Twitter account, which contained the traffic video that he had made earlier, along with some other online ramblings that seemed equally as threatening. While all of the hypothetical threats were too vague to technically be considered against the law, it was still alarming enough for officials to send a statewide police bulletin to all law enforcement warning them to be extra careful on that day. When police investigators went to Caesar's house and spoke to his wife in the kitchen, Caesar quickly made a new Twitter post, "Just joking, guys." He wrote shortly before making the account private, "He still remains among the public today."
Go to work, look who gets in front of me. The police using emergency vehicle to put it like me. But a guy like me is gonna take a gun and kill one of these mothers keeping with me. I can't take them all, but I'm gonna take a few with me.
Number 4, go outside please. In May of this year, John Ali Hoffman made a chilling 911 phone call to Hawaiian police. Multiple intruders had broken into his home in the middle of the night and shot his wife. He told the emergency dispatcher in disbelief. Police came roaring to his home property at 1:30 in the morning and spotted a mysterious car driving away with no headlights on. When they pulled the vehicle over, they were surprised to find the driver was none other than John Hoffman himself, with a gun in the passenger seat. Police quickly threw John in custody and began searching the car for any evidence. It did not take long for them to spot blood steadily dripping from inside of the trunk. Jammed inside was the dead body of Araceli, his wife, who had been shot in the head. A search of their home residence revealed the deceased bodies of their children, 7-year-old Clara Hoffman and 5-year-old John Hoffman Jr., both shot in the head and left to die in the bedroom and on the living room couch respectively. Shortly before committing these heinous acts, John posted something of interest online. Though video is unrelated to the family homicide per se, it does give viewers a morbidly fascinating glimpse into the inner workings of a man capable of slaughtering his entire family. The video starts out ordinarily enough. John Ali Hoffman sounds somewhat subdued as he says that he quote-unquote hopes everything is good out there. He introduces himself by full name and begins to explain at length about a garbage service that he started in 1998. It almost seems like an autobiography, until about 3 minutes later when his craziness begins to shine through. The entire time John is talking, his camera remains focused on his computer screen. There's a Microsoft Word document that is hundreds of pages long and contains thousands of name and tax property codes. These property tax codes are for properties that he remembers were given to him in a court case, he explains. And the names on his list are the judges and other city officials who he feels are denying him his due property. In other words, John is convinced that he is the legal owner of thousands of properties throughout the state of Hawaii. Only there's one problem. There's no court ruling in his favor. In fact, there's no court case at all. John completely hallucinated the entire judgment and now believes there is a conspiracy afoot that is preventing him from receiving the thousands of properties that he rightfully deserves. What he planned to do with the names is anyone's guess. If anything, he feels that these people are stalking him and making attempts on his life almost every day. He describes himself as a poor man trying to understand a greater conspiracy and seeking justice. He even likens himself to a castaway on an island. Throughout the video, he continues to show volumes of what he thinks to be supporting evidence, but what is actually little more than binders full of schizophrenic ramblings. It's quite sad and also quite terrifying. At one point, one of his children comes into the room and tries to compete with his father's delusions for attention. Instead of showing affection, John urgently tells the kid to go outside, anxiously adding, "Please." This simple interaction becomes all too haunting when you realize this is one of the two children who he would brutally execute later. You can also hear one of the children playing and laughing in the other room too, and a kid's show begins playing in the background for the entire time. Number 3. The Big Friendly Giant. Noah Harpham was 33 years old when he would make national headlines for giving Colorado Springs a horrifying Halloween that the area would never soon forget. The 6'5" recovering alcoholic describes himself as quote-unquote a big friendly giant on his dating profile for a popular meetup website. Although he had dabbed with substances in the past, Noah seemed to be on his path to recovery. His schedule was full of normal activities. He had a steady job as an insurance agent and was looking forward to starting up his own YouTube channel. Noah's only video, titled Video Blog Number 1, depicts the tall YouTuber walking around his house while discussing a religion sermon that his father recently turned him on to. Noah seems friendly, albeit a bit nervous and fidgety, but at no point does he seem angry or murderous, yet that is exactly what he would soon become. A mere 2 days after posting the video, residents flooded the Colorado Springs Police Department with 911 calls. Noah had been seen setting his house on fire with a can of gasoline at around 8:45 in the morning that Halloween. He walked out of the house carrying a rifle and a pistol, where he opened fire on a random bicyclist. "Please God, no," a neighbor heard the man on the bike say before he was killed. 2 other random souls were murdered before police gunned him down in the street.
Alright, hey folks, this is Noah, getting my blog live. Trucks and trucks and lots of trucks. The blog is just going to be me with a video camera, and that'll be it. We'll see what happens.
Number 2. Elliot's Revenge. Elliot Rodger moved to Los Angeles with his family when he was only 5 years old. Here he would live quite a rich and affluent lifestyle filled with celebrity encounters, designer clothing, and his own personal BMW by the time he turned 21. This was all thanks to a successful family upbringing. His father, Peter Rogers, was an assistant director for the Hunger Games. Still, despite owning a vast wealth of material possessions and otherwise living in complete and total luxury, Elliot Rodgers felt his life was completely insufferable, so he wanted to go on a killing spree to solve it. The reason for his anguish was simple. Elliot Rodgers was bitter about his virginity. He had never had to do anything difficult to get what he wanted, and this give me attitude had made him quite angry about still being a virgin at 22 years old. As evidenced by his YouTube videos, Elliot expected women to completely worship him without getting to know him first, and he took it quite personally when he did not immediately get his way with women. In one video titled, "Why Do Girls Hate Me So Much?", Elliot does not hold back his bitterness and resentment in the slightest. The video opens with Elliot strutting towards the camera to begin complaining. He describes himself as quote-unquote the ultimate gentleman, yet also quote-unquote in the darkest hell, as a result from being quote-unquote alone for a very long time. In the 2.5 years at Santa Barbara University, he says, he had never been given a chance by the female students. He even says that they are repulsed by him despite his sophistication, designer clothing, and BMW. The upload date is May 23, 2014, the same day that he became violently insane. Shortly before his vicious attack, Elliot made one last video to justify his actions and intent. In this video, he sounds like a diabolical madman straight out of an action movie. He can't keep from grinning as he explains that he will get quote-unquote revenge on humanity. He says that he has never kissed a girl before and describes life as torturous, adding that he is quote-unquote rotting in loneliness. This is the reasoning behind his plan to open fire on the unsuspecting contestants of a beauty contest at a local sorority house the next day. After that, he figured he would simply just murder people at random on the street. Elliot put the 2 videos online, but he would not be able to contain his rage for one more day as planned. Instead, he exploded that night at his apartment, where he stabbed his 3 roommates to death. They were young men, 2 20-year-olds and 1 19-year-old. High on adrenaline and revenge now, Elliot took 2 handguns and went to a sorority house on the Santa Barbara campus. He banged on the door, but when no one answered, he shot up the house from across the street. 3 women were struck in the front yard, all 19 and 20 years of age. 2 of them perished. Roger hopped into his BMW and drove to a deli, where he shot a male student at random. He drove down the wrong side of the road while firing out of the window at pedestrians, then struck 2 bicyclists with his vehicle. His car was wrecked and his rampage was over. With a body sticking through his windshield, Rogers put a gun to his head and pulled the trigger.
Dress nice. I'm sophisticated and magnificent. I have a nice car, a BMW. Well, it's nicer than 90% of the people at my college. You know, I'm polite. I'm the ultimate gentleman. These sunglasses here were $300. Giorgio Armani. Well, this is my last video. It all has to come to this. I don't know why you girls aren't attracted to me, but I will punish you all for it.
Number 1. The Bjork Stalker. Ricardo Lopez was a pest exterminator in his 20s living in Georgia. Aside from killing bugs, the man lived all by himself and had very few hobbies. However, one obsession in particular kept him going strong day and night. He was the biggest fan of the Icelandic pop singer known as Bjork, and not in a healthy way at all. To Ricardo, Bjork was the epitome of innocence. She was the purest woman Ricardo had ever seen, and he constantly obsessed over the possibility of one day obtaining a real relationship with her. If she could only give him just one chance, he knew that he would make her fall in love with him, despite him being an overweight reclusive exterminator living in the deep south. One day, Ricardo's dreams were completely dashed after he read in a popular celebrity gossip magazine that Bjork had found a boyfriend to call her own. To make matters even worse, Ricardo was an open racist, and it infuriated him to no end that Bjork's new boyfriend was black. This was unacceptable to Ricardo, and he took it as a personal insult directed at him. This was a cruel joke planned by the 2 of them to make him feel like a fool, he felt. He also felt that Bjork should have known better than to do this to him, and he set about trying to decide on a good way to get back at her. The best way to get revenge on Bjork, the insane bug sprayer thought to himself, would be to somehow disfigure her so badly that no one would want her. If he couldn't have her, no one could. Maiming Bjork quickly became his new life goal. Despite being incredibly insane, Ricardo was also very crafty, and he began to spend all of his free time engineering a plan to make Bjork hideous enough to end her career. Ricardo paid a good deal of money to create a fake press release kit for a fictional publicity agency. The fake press release kit was a heavily laminated binder with an official-looking cover that appeared to be full of promotional papers for Bjork to review. What was really inside of it, however, was something insidious and evil. In the center of the kit was a spring-loaded trap that was filled with acid. If all went according to plan, when Bjork opened the kit, she would be doused with acid and severely disfigured. This plan took months for Ricardo to fully recognize, and during this time, he had purchased a home video camera to fully document his descent into insanity. This was in the mid-1990s, well before YouTube, so the ability to record your thoughts on tape was still a unique novelty. The hours of footage that Ricardo left behind is peppered with everyday entries about his ordinary life. In a way, these moments are almost creepier than the videos of his psychotic ramblings, because it shows that when Ricardo is not thinking about Bjork, he can pretty much pass himself off as being a normal everyday person. The videos where he talks about his job, his hours, his co-workers, and money troubles are so typical it makes the parts where he talks about Bjork even scarier. Towards the end of the videos though, it's quite obvious that Ricardo has fully broken away from whatever resemblance of normality he had been clinging to. He quits his job, shaves his head, and gains a massive amount of weight as he continues to obsess over Bjork while hanging around his apartment. For reasons unknown, he paints his face red and lurks without any clothing on. It's as if some sort of sick mental transformation is complete and he is now fully a monster. Ricardo is completely manic at this stage, and he is both mentally and physically unrecognizable compared to all of his earlier videos. He has successfully mailed the package to Bjork and decides that he can't stay on Earth to get caught. Naked, the 300-pound plus man sits on a chair holding a handgun. He has his favorite Bjork album playing to cheer him on, and behind him is a hand-painted sign with the words, "The best of me," written in shaky letters. He takes several deep breaths, trying to work up the strength to go through with the final part of his plan. Finally, he shouts the word victory and puts the gun inside his mouth. The death gargle after the gunshot is sickening, and you can hear his blood run out of his body onto the floor. Bjork continues to sing, but the man who was Ricardo Lopez can no longer hear her. Police found his body along with all of his tapes. Bjork never received the package.